At sunrise, Jesus walked toward the village market with a woven basket resting gently upon his strong arm. The streets were already alive with farmers, bakers, and families preparing for another demanding day. He greeted each person with a warm smile, noticing their quiet hopes and the heavy burdens they carried. Near the entrance, an old farmer arranged fresh carrots, potatoes, onions, and bright green cabbage. Jesus asked about the harvest, then listened as the farmer spoke of drought, labor, and uncertain sales. He chose the finest vegetables, not for himself, but for families who had gone many nights without food. The farmer tried to lower the price, yet Jesus paid fairly and thanked him for his honest, patient work. Farther down the market, baskets overflowed with apples, oranges, grapes, and sweet seasonal berries.
Here you are, little ones.
Jesus selected ripe fruit for the children, knowing a simple taste of sweetness could restore their joy.
That is 5 denarii for
A little
the sack.
girl watched him carefully, wondering why he bought so much while wearing such humble clothes. Jesus knelt beside her and said that food becomes a blessing when it is shared with someone in need. At the butcher's stall, he chose fresh cuts of meat that could feed many people in one nourishing meal. The butcher wrapped each portion carefully and asked whether Jesus was preparing a village celebration. Jesus answered that every hungry neighbor was worthy of a table filled with dignity, warmth, and love. Hearing this, the butcher added another piece of meat and quietly asked Jesus to share it with a widow. Jesus thanked him, reminding the man that generosity often begins with one small and unnoticed decision. Before leaving, Jesus bought bread, herbs, beans, and a jar of oil from several hard-working vendors. On the road home, he saw 2 hungry brothers searching the dusty ground for anything they might safely eat. Jesus gave them each an apple and invited them to follow, promising that a warm meal would soon be ready. They walked beside him with cautious hope, still unsure whether such kindness could truly be meant for them. At a small courtyard near the edge of town, Jesus placed the baskets beside a simple outdoor kitchen. He washed every vegetable carefully, showing the children that humble work can also be holy and joyful. Some people peeled potatoes, others chopped carrots, while the younger children carried bowls of water. Jesus sliced the onions and smiled through the tears, making everyone laugh despite their difficult lives. He seasoned the meat with herbs, then cooked it slowly until the courtyard filled with a comforting aroma. In a large pot, he combined beans, vegetables, and broth to create enough stew for every waiting family. He asked no one about status, mistakes, or reputation before offering them a place near the cooking fire.
Here, eat this.
A lonely veteran sat beside a frightened mother,
We are safe now.
while an old widow welcomed children who were not hers. He reminded them that every person carries a story, and every tired heart deserves patience before judgment. When the stew was ready, Jesus served the elderly first, then the children, and finally, every other guest. He filled each bowl generously, making sure no one felt ashamed for asking to receive a second helping. The bread was passed from hand to hand, and strangers began speaking like neighbors around a family table. Children tasted the berries and laughed, while exhausted parents finally relaxed their shoulders in peace. One man quietly saved part of his meal, hoping to bring it later to a friend who was too sick to travel. Jesus noticed and gave him an extra bowl, teaching that compassion grows stronger whenever it is carried on. A wealthy merchant passed the courtyard and paused when he saw the poor eating with such visible happiness. Jesus invited the merchant to sit, not as a sponsor above them, but as a neighbor beside those in need. The merchant hesitated, then joined the table and heard stories he had ignored during years of busy trade. Moved by their honesty, the merchant promised jobs, blankets, and weekly food for several struggling homes. Jesus did not praise him loudly, but said that real change begins when compassion becomes faithful action. After everyone had eaten, Jesus gathered the leftovers and divided them into portions for the coming days. The children helped clean the bowls, proud to give something back after being welcomed without conditions. Before sunset, Jesus packed fruit and bread for those who lived alone beyond the edge of the village. He walked from door to door, leaving meals with the sick, the disabled, and anyone forgotten by the crowd. At one house, a frail woman began to cry because no visitor had crossed her doorway in many lonely weeks. Jesus sat with her, shared a bowl of stew, and listened until her sorrow no longer felt invisible or heavy. He told her that being remembered can nourish the spirit just as surely as warm food strengthens the body. By nightfall, the empty baskets rested near the kitchen, but the courtyard remained full of renewed hope. The farmer offered vegetables, the butcher promised meat, and the baker agreed to bring yesterday's bread. No one had great wealth, yet each person discovered that a small gift could become part of a greater feast. Jesus looked around the table and saw more than hunger relieved. He saw a community learning how to love. He taught them that kindness is not measured by applause, but by who is fed when no one else is watching. The marketplace had provided the ingredients, but willing hearts had transformed those ingredients into grace. That evening, families carried food home with lighter steps and a new desire to notice suffering around them. The two brothers who followed Jesus at noon now helped guide an older neighbor safely back to his house. The little girl from the market gave away her last orange, smiling because she finally understood his words. Jesus watched the village grow quiet, knowing the meal would end, but its lesson could continue for years. Whenever we buy, cook, share, or serve, we can turn an ordinary table into a place of healing and belonging. A meal given with respect can restore courage, rebuild trust, and remind the forgotten that their lives matter. And every time we care for the hungry, we honor the love that Jesus carried through the market that morning.